My sister died in a car crash. At least that's what they told me. But when I found her final letter hidden beneath a sweater and read the words, "Don't trust anyone," I knew something was wrong. The clocks in our childhood home were all frozen at 3:17. Her fiancé wasn't grieving. And the therapist from our past, the one I thought I'd imagined, was still watching. Now I'm uncovering a truth so twisted, it was designed to be forgotten. And I was part of the experiment all along. I never intended to stay in Riverbend past the funeral. But some towns don't let go easily. Especially ones that remember everything you've tried to forget. My name is Celeste Marlowe. I was born here in this dusty little corner of Ohio, and I left the moment I turned 18. Buried secrets here. Deep ones. Ones I hoped would stay dead with time. But when my sister Hazel died in that car accident last month, I had no choice but to come back. And now, I'm stuck in the house we both swore we'd never return to. The Marlowe estate. My mother's house. Or what's left of it. A skeleton of old money, rotting pride, and creaking floorboards. What I didn't expect was the letter. Folded perfectly in Hazel's handwriting, sealed with wax, no return address. It was waiting in her top drawer beneath a worn-out cardigan I hadn't seen since high school. If you're reading this, then I'm dead. Don't trust anyone, especially not him. Burn this letter after reading. That's all it said. No signature. No explanation. Just that. I should have burned it right away like she asked. But I didn't. Something in her handwriting shook me. It wasn't just fear, it was heartbreak. The funeral had been suffocating. Polite faces. Hollow condolences. And then him. Beckham Lorne. My sister's fiancé. The man who never cried. He stood there in black, his hand on the closed coffin. His eyes dry as the cracked church walls. I hated him once. Loved him briefly. And now I couldn't read him at all. When I approached him after the service, he looked like he'd been expecting me. He didn't say a word. Just nodded. "You okay?" "Yes. I will be," he replied, voice low. "Are you staying long?" "Just to settle her things. Then I guess we'll be seeing more of each other." There was no warmth in his voice. No grief either. Just something colder. Something calculated. Back at the house, everything felt off. The windows were too clean. The fridge was full. Someone had been living here. Hazel's things were untouched, like she'd gone to the store and never returned. And every clock in the house was stuck at 3:17. Checked them all. That's when the phone rang. Landline. I hadn't heard one in years. "Celeste," a voice rasped. "Don't leave that house." "Who is this?" But they'd already hung up. I stood frozen, letter still in my hand, mind racing. I didn't believe in ghosts. But I did believe in patterns. And Hazel's death. It didn't feel like an accident. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the crash in my head. Hazel's car had flipped on an empty road just outside the town limits. No ice. No other vehicle. No witnesses. Except maybe one. I dug through her laptop, looking for emails or diary entries. But it was clean. Too clean. No browsing history. No recent files. Just one folder labeled Vesper, locked with a password. The word triggered something in me. Vesper was our code as kids. Meant danger. Or secrets. Usually both. I tried everything. Birthdays, middle names, our childhood dog's name. Nothing worked. The next morning, I went to visit her old office at the county library. Her desk had already been cleared out, but the librarian, a soft-spoken woman named Irene, gave me a box of Hazel's belongings. "Strange," she said, looking me over. "Hazel mentioned you might come back. She said, if anything happened, you'd know what to do." She said that. Irene nodded slowly. She was scared near the end. Not of dying. Of being found out. I opened the box in my car. Mostly junk. Pens, old bookmarks, a cracked mug. But inside a book of poetry, I found something taped to the back cover. Flash drive. Back at the house, I hesitated before plugging it in. What if I wasn't ready? What if Hazel had uncovered something she shouldn't have? The drive held one file, a video. Date stamped 3 weeks before her death. Hazel sat in her car, eyes puffy, whispering into the camera. If you're seeing this, then I couldn't stop it. Found something. About him. About Beckham. It's all connected. The fire in '99, the missing reports, Mom's journal. It's bigger than I thought. And I think he knows I know. The screen went black. My hands trembled. I thought about the fire. The one that burned half of Marlowe Textiles to the ground when I was 12. The one that killed our father. Back then it was ruled an accident. Faulty wiring. But Beckham's family owned the inspection company. And our mother. She stopped speaking after that day. Literally. Just went silent. Never explained why. Had to know more. I drove to Beckham's house that night. He lived in a converted church on the outskirts of town. Dark, cold, beautiful in a way that made you feel small. He opened the door like he'd been waiting. "Celeste," he said. "Couldn't sleep either. I need answers," I told him. About Hazel. About the fire. He stepped aside without protest. "Then come in." Inside, the walls were covered in paintings. Not religious. Portraits. Of women. All with the same eyes. Hazel's eyes. Who are they? I asked, already knowing. "People I couldn't save," he said. I turned to him sharply. "What do you mean?" But he didn't answer. Instead he handed me a folder. Inside were photos. Newspaper clippings. Medical records. All connected to the Marlowe family. One name kept recurring. Dr. Franklin Payne. Our childhood therapist. Beckham looked at me. "Do you remember what happened in his office?" I shook my head. "Barely. Pistols. Questions. Mirrors." He nodded. "That's what he wanted. To make you forget." I slammed the folder shut. "What are you saying?" But before he could answer, the power cut out. The room plunged into darkness. The hum of electricity died. Then, from outside, the sound of footsteps. Low. Deliberate. Beckham reached for something under the table. Crowbar. "You need to go," he said, voice tense. "I'm not leaving." I said. A crash shattered the silence. One of the front windows exploded inward. Glass. Screaming wind. And then nothing. Just a whisper. She was supposed to stay quiet. My sister died in a car crash and moved toward the stairs. At least that's what they told me. Whatever was coming, when I found her final letter hidden beneath the sweater and read the words, because I wasn't just mourning my sister. I knew something was wrong. I was becoming her. The clocks in our childhood home were all frozen at 3:17. Her fiancé wasn't thinning fear until it feels like background from our past. The one I thought I'd imagined was still watching. Had silenced her. Now I'm uncovering a truth so twisted, and I wasn't going to die quietly. To be forgotten. Beckham I was part of the experiment all along, motioning for me to follow. I never intended to stay in Riverbend through the vestry funeral. I didn't move. But some towns don't let go easily. Who was that voice? Especially ones that remember everything you've tried to forget. Answer. My name is Celeste Marlowe. I was born out there in this dusty little corner of Ohio, who clearly knew more than he was saying. I turned 18. I gripped the crowbar tighter and followed him through a narrow hall. Ones I hoped would stay dead with time. But when my sister Hazel died in that car accident last month, the air was thick. I had no choice but to come back. My heart pounded like it had turned into a second house we both swore we'd never return to. Explain, the Marlowe estate. My mother's house. He pushed open a hidden door behind a bookshelf. A skeleton of old money, rotting pride, and creaking floorboards. He sighed, stopping. What I didn't expect was the letter. Hazel didn't just uncover him in Hazel's handwriting. She found a pattern, sealed with wax. A list of children who were treated by Dr. It was waiting in her top drawer beneath a worn-out cardigan I hadn't seen since high school. The word hit like a body blow. Then I'm dead. You're lying. Don't trust Hazel anyone, kept especially the not him. She broke into the archives beneath the county general. That's all it said. She found our files. No signature. No explanation. Worse. Just that. They used us. I should have burned it right away like she asked. Project Vespertine. But I didn't. I couldn't breathe. Something in her handwriting Beckham leaned in. It wasn't just fear. It was heartbreak. The silence. The funeral had been suffocating. Everything started when we were kids. Do you remember how often you used to sleepwalk? Beckham Lorne. My fingers twitched. My sister's fiancé. You were trained. The man conditioned who never cried. To forget. All of us
He
were.
stood there in black,
and when Hazel
his
tried
hand
to
on the
undo
closed
it,
coffin.
she was eliminated.
His eyes dry as the cracked church walls.
I hated him once.
She died in a car
Loved him
accident.
briefly.
She was
now
run
I
off
couldn't
the road.
read him at all.
We burst
When
into
I
the cold
approached him
night
after
air
the
behind
service,
the old church.
he looked like
My
he'd
skin
been
prickled.
expecting me.
The wind
He didn't
tasted
say a word.
metallic.
Just nodded.
Beckham pulled me
"You
toward
okay?"
his car,
but
yes.
I yanked free.
I will be.
You knew
he
about
replied
this for how
voice
long?
low.
Are
Since
you staying
I was
long?
17.
Just to
That's
settle
why I
her
got
things.
close to Hazel.
Then I guess
Keep
we'll
her
be
safe.
seeing more of each
But
other.
I fell in love
There was no
instead.
warmth in his
Don't
voice.
say that.
No grief
I
either.
did.
Just
He stepped
something
forward,
colder, searching my
something
face.
calculated.
She didn't deserve
Back at the
what
house,
happened to
everything
her,
felt
he said.
off.
The
Neither
windows
do
were
you.
too clean.
I wanted to
The
scream.
fridge was full.
Cry.
Someone
Run.
had been living
But the
here.
flash drive in my
Hazel's
coat
things
pocket
were
burned
untouched,
against my chest
like
like a
she'd
brand.
gone to the store
Hazel's
and never
voice
returned.
whispered in my
and
memory.
every clock in the
Don't
house was
trust
stuck
anyone,
at 3:17,
including him.
Check them all.
We got in the car.
That's when the phone rang.
He drove
Landline.
fast, down
I hadn't
winding
heard
roads,
one in years.
past broken
Celeste,
fences and fields
a voice
that smelled
rasped.
like winter.
Don't
I
leave
stared
that
out the
house.
window,
Who
trying
is
to
this?
untangle memories
But they'd
I didn't
already
trust.
hung up.
I stood frozen,
the flickering
letter
lights
still in my
Dr.
hand,
Payne's
mind
office.
racing.
The
I
mirror
didn't
I'd
believe
been
in
made to
ghosts,
stare into
but
for
I did
hours.
believe in patterns.
Hazel and I
And
called
Hazel's
it the
death.
disappearing game.
It didn't feel like
Back
an
then
accident.
it was fun.
That
Just
night
pretend
I
you
couldn't
weren't
sleep.
there.
I kept
Until one
replaying
day
the crash
she
in
didn't
my
come
head.
out of it the same.
Hazel's car
We
had
pulled
flipped
up to
on
the
an
library
empty road just
Irene,
outside
the
the town
librarian,
limits.
was waiting
No
outside.
No other
clutching
vehicle.
a flashlight.
No witnesses.
She's safe,
except
Beckham
maybe
told
one.
me.
I
She
dug
helped
through her
Hazel
laptop,
copy the
looking
records.
for emails or
Irene
diary
looked
entries.
nervous,
But it was
glancing
clean.
over her shoulder.
Clean.
We
No
don't have
browsing
much
history.
time.
No
She
recent
let us
files.
inside, down
Just
into the
one
basement
folder
archives.
labeled Vesper.
Dust clung
Locked
to
with
the
a
air.
password.
Old
The
files
word triggered
lined metal
something in me.
shelves. Yellowed
Vesper
and
was our
cracking.
code as kids.
Irene handed
Meant
me a
danger
manila envelope.
or secrets.
Inside
Usually
were
both.
copies of medical
I tried
evaluations.
Brain
Birthdays,
scans,
middle names,
anomalies
our childhood
in neural
dog's name.
pathways.
Nothing
Dozens
worked.
of them.
The next
All
morning,
children
I went
under
to
the
visit
age
her
of
old
10.
office at the
All
county
linked
library.
to Marlowe-funded
Her
research.
desk had already been cleared
family.
out, but the librarian,
Hazel had
a
circled
soft-spoken
one note.
woman named Irene,
Patients show a
gave
high
me a box of
dissociative
Hazel's
response
belongings.
to reflective
Strange,
conditioning,
she said,
underlined,
looking me over.
Celeste M.
Hazel mentioned you
stumbled
might come
backward.
back.
The room
She
spun.
said, "Why me? If anything
Yes.
happened, you'd
Beckham
know what
spoke.
to do."
Because
She
you were the
said that.
perfect subject.
Irene nodded
Quiet,
slowly.
smart,
She was
controlled.
scared near the
They
end.
thought they could
not
mold
of
you.
dying and
Of
Hazel
being found out.
She was the mistake.
Opened the box in my
she
car.
remembered.
Mostly
A
junk.
sound echoed above
Pens,
us.
old bookmarks,
a low,
a cracked
deliberate
mug.
creak. But inside
Irene's
a book
eyes
of
went
poetry,
wide.
I found
They
something
found
taped
us.
to the back
Beckham
cover.
pulled me toward
Flash
the back
drive.
exit.
Back at
Run.
the house.
But
I
didn't
hesitated
move.
before
I'd
plugging
spent
it in.
years running.
What if I
From
wasn't
this town.
ready?
From
What
the
if Hazel
shadows
had
in my
uncovered
memories.
something she
From
shouldn't
the pieces
have?
of myself
The drive
I
held
never
one
understood.
file, a video.
I wasn't running
Date
anymore.
stamped 3 weeks
I want
before
to see
her
him,
death, I said.
Hazel sat in
Beckham
her
stared.
car, eyes
What?
puffy,
Dr.
whispering into the
Payne.
camera.
I want to see
If
him.
you're seeing this
tonight,
then I couldn't
he
stop it.
hesitated.
Found
You
something.
don't know what you're
about him.
asking.
About
Yes,
Beckham.
I do.
It's all connected.
We drove in
the fire
silence
in
to the edge
99,
of Riverbend,
the missing reports,
past the
Mom's
river,
journal, the hill.
It's bigger than I
to
thought.
a gated estate
And I
that
think
looked
he knows
abandoned
I
from the
know.
road.
The screen
But it
went
wasn't.
black.
My
Beckham
hands
typed the
trembled.
code into the gate.
I thought about the
Open.
fire.
You
The
brought
one
me
that
here
burned half
before,
of Marlowe
I whispered.
textiles to the
Didn't
ground
you?
when I was 12.
He nodded.
The one
You
that
were
killed
9.
our father.
They erased
Back
it.
then it was
The
ruled
mansion
an
loomed
accident.
above us.
Faulty wiring.
All stone and ivy.
But Beckham's
its windows
family
dark.
owned the inspection
Beckham
company.
led me through a side
and our
entrance.
mother. She
The
stopped
hall was
speaking
lined
after
with
that day.
paintings.
Literally.
Children in
just
them.
went silent.
Blank eyes.
Never
Stiff
explained
smiles.
why. One of
Had
them
to know
looked
more.
like me.
I
Then
drove
I
to
saw
Beckham's
him.
house that
Dr.
night.
Franklin Payne.
He lived
Older,
in a converted
fragile,
church on the
still
outskirts
dressed
of
like
town.
he'd stepped out of a
Dark,
country club
cold,
ad. Beautiful
Well,
in a way
he
that made
rasped.
you feel small.
Look who's awake.
He
I
opened the
stood
door
frozen.
like he'd been waiting.
My skin crawled.
Celeste,
You
he
remember
said.
more than I
Couldn't
expected,
sleep either.
he said.
I need
Hazel
answers,
always was
I
too
told
curious.
him. About
You,
Hazel,
on the other hand, were a
about the
masterpiece.
fire.
He
Until
stepped
they took
aside
you away.
without protest.
My voice cracked.
Then come in.
Why us?
Inside,
Because
the
you were
walls were covered
convenient,
in paintings,
disposable,
not religious,
and gifted.
portraits.
Your family
of women,
wanted to preserve
all
a
with
legacy.
the same eyes. We offered
Hazel's
evolution. He stepped
Who
closer.
are they?
Don't
Asked,
you see?
already knowing.
This was never
People
personal.
I couldn't save,
This
he
was
said.
progress.
I turned to him
Lunch.
sharply.
The crowbar
What do you
connected
mean?
with his shoulder.
But he didn't answer.
He collapsed,
howling.
Instead, he handed me a
Beckham
folder.
didn't stop me.
Inside were
I
photos.
stood over him,
newspaper
trembling.
clippings.
But I didn't
medical
strike
records.
again. I
All
want
connected
every
to the
file,
Marlowe
I said.
family.
Every
One
record,
name kept recurring.
every name.
Dr.
And then I'm
Franklin
burning
Payne,
this house to
our
the
childhood
ground.
therapist.
Dr. Payne
Beckham
smiled
looked at me.
even through the pain.
Do you remember
You
what
think
happened
this
in his
ends
office?
with me?
I shook
No,
my head.
I said.
Barely.
It ends
Astolfo.
with me.
Questions.
We destroyed
Mirrors.
the archive that
He
night.
nodded. Every
That's
file.
what he wanted.
Every tape.
To make
Every
you
mirror-lined
forget.
room.
I slammed
Beckham
the
lit
folder
the
shut.
first flame.
What are you
I lit
saying?
the last.
But
By
before
morning,
he could
the
answer,
estate
the
was
power
ash.
cut out. We stood
The
by the
room
road,
plunged
watching
into
the
darkness.
smoke rise.
The hum of
Hazel
electricity
didn't die
died.
for nothing.
Then,
I
from
said.
outside, the
Beckham
sound
turned
of
to me.
footsteps.
You're
Low.
free now.
Deliberate.
No, I
Beckham
said.
reached for something
Now
under the
I
table.
remember.
Crowbar.
Plug. You need to go.
6
he
months
said,
later.
voice tense.
The Marlowe
I'm not
estate has
leaving.
been sold.
I said.
Irene
A crash
transferred
shattered
out of
the
the
silence.
silence.
Beckham
One of
and
the
I
front
don't speak
windows
much.
exploded
He sends
inward.
postcards
Glass.
sometimes.
Screaming
No
wind.
return address.
And then nothing.
I've started writing
Just
again.
a whisper. Not fiction.
She was supposed to
Not
stay
anymore.
quiet.
This story is real. Every name. Every scar. And the final entry in Hazel's journal, the one she left taped inside my old music box, was just 4 words. You're stronger than memory. She was right. 'Cause now I remember everything. And I'm not afraid anymore.